In this video and some of the next videos, I wanted to break down how some of this stuff is actually set up in the level. So that way you, if you want to, you can create a similar setup and things like that. The first, excuse me, the first area is the title screen. As anyone who's used the plugin before, in general, knows that pretty much I branch everything off the title screen for being able to go to the source database, to make a copy of the source database to be your active database that you're working from as you're, building your game, loading your level, things like that. And before the entry level or the title screen, should you say, was pretty bland. What I've always wanted was a 3D type of environment that could go from camera to camera to camera to show these certain interface elements in a 3D space. For anyone who doesn't care, they can just go to the next video, which I cover the stuff that's in the actual level itself. But for right now, actually let me turn these back on. I have a set of cameras that I pretty much blend in between for the different levels of the interface. I also have the 3D widget, which lets you pretty much load an actual widget in 3D space. But because of how I have my interfaces set up to where you can push and pop different interfaces, even though it's in 3D space, you still control it with the regular keyboard buttons or in my case the Xbox controller, to where I can still go in and out of interfaces just like I was using it on a flat screen. The object that I currently have right now is not the tablet. If I can actually select it, let me see if I can select this one. An on-screen widget, which is just pretty much a regular blueprint object that I can use to just put it into the world. I can also give it a widget name, so that way I can scan the objects in the environment when I load up the title screen and find out pretty much where these objects are. So this is the widget for loading. This is the widget for the options that I put inside this actual tablet. I think I put it a little bit below the glass so that way it actually looks like it's inside the actual tablet screen itself. And then the other one over here is just a general one for the credits. And pretty much, if I go to apologies, my brain cuts off at random moments. If we go to game screen, nope, system, there we go, to the title HUD. Go to the event graph, and up here I pretty much define my camera options and how I want to be able to transition to them between the different options for the menu. I also blend to the first title cam, which in general, if you want a title cam to be there, you would have to have at least one title cam, and that's just pretty much a camera with the name of title cam. I just use that to find and blend to in the world. And pretty much anytime we move or anything like that, we switch and move to a different camera option, again listed up here, which will just pretty much try to see if it can find the camera in the environment. If it finds it, it just does a blend to the area. Also, based on what we do to that area, we may where is it? Sorry about this. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking all this up correctly. See, this does the blend. It tries to find the character in the map. Mind you, get all actors of class is bad. I probably should have had a collected all the cameras at once as soon as the interface loaded, and then stored that instead of actually going out and scanning the entire environment for cameras. But in this case, I don't have a big environment, so it doesn't have many options to scan through to find all these objects. But if I had a bigger map or something like that, I definitely would not want to get all actors of class. But then again, that does the blending. Again, this is just for the top level title screen where we come in and we say, hey, hit start. We go to the first camera in the set, and then we play the accepting thing and update the text button that's on screen. Well, the whatever this is, text button, title, the title layer, whatever this is called, to show you your different option choices for whatever you're selecting. On top of that, if you notice here, anytime we go to a certain title option, I think this is the execution, face button down. This is actually activating the transitions into these screens. So, you know, starting a new level is this, playing the sound, waiting a little bit for the sound to play, then we load the actual level. Same thing for loading the last checkpoint. But for things like going into the options page, what we do is I push the control. So I take that HUD object and I go to my player control and I push that interface onto the stack. By default, inside the player controller, when we first load up the scene, based on your interface type that I covered in another video, but I'm just going to show it here again. So if we go over to blueprints, RPG system, no, play HUD. There we go. So based on your interface states, we're going to automatically load these different types. Currently, we're in title screen state, which means the system is going to automatically load the title screen onto the display. But what we want to do is we want to actually give ownership to another sub widget within that same, you know, environment area. And what you can do is pretty much take your widget and then push it onto the stack. And what that would do is all the inputs and information will be redirected to that child until that child is popped off the stack. And even though this is in 3D space, like I said before, you're still controlling it in a 2D environment. So this could be removed and you put your options on the actual page instead of, you know, in a 3D widget like I have. And all I do is once I push it onto the stack, I make sure that the 3D environment one is visible, so I can come over here and, you know, activate whatever option that I need to activate on this interface. And pretty much, I think that's pretty much the basis of it. I have my camera blends for the different states. I tried to just make the interfaces look like they were within the environment. Hopefully I did that in a fairly good way. I have like lightning effects out here to try to make it look like it was, you know, a night scene at night with random lightning going on. Very low lighting, trying to make some kind of moody effect and things like that with the rain. If anyone's ever seen Chrono Trigger, I want to eventually make this book to where it opens, kind of paying homage to you know, the old classic RPGs that we grew up with. But as far as setup in general and operations with title screen, that's pretty much how all that is set up. It's not much forced setup. It's just a lot of things that some people don't know how to do or how to set up. Hopefully you can tear this scene apart, rip it down, modify it, do things however you want to do, change anything however you want to change it, and try to see if it can be some kind of building blocks to your operation. In the next video, I'm going to go over setting up not setting up, but pretty much a breakdown of the demo environment and how everything is set up with that. See you soon.